developing your team. And the first part of developing your team is to make them important. Many managers make the mistake of thinking that they need to personally perform any task that is considered important. Some actually consider this a form of job security to be the only person able to perform an important task. In fact, I believe it's exactly the opposite. You need to develop your team in such a manner that they feel important and essential. When your team feels important and essential, you'll get the results the service department views exceptional, and they will perform better. I can recall many a times I would go to visits in dealerships, and I had them do a simple task on time management. And I had them write down the top 5 things that they do individually. In literally every case, when I had them write down the top 5 things they spend time on, I challenged them then with the question, how many of these do you need to do personally? And when you looked at the 5 things that they're spending their time on, and with that challenging question, what do they need to do personally? It was intriguing to note that literally every example in all of the clients I asked that to do that exercise came back the same, in that none of those 5 things they needed to do individually. You see, they lost their focus on the time, and we went down the list in a matter of no time. Well, who are we going to assign this task to? Who are we going to assign that task to? And literally, if we spent 10 minutes doing that, it's all it took, 10 minutes, and we had all of the 5 top things they were spending their time on removed and assigned to other people. Now, why was it that way? It could have been a lot of different things, but the fact is that most managers aren't assigning tasks to their team for some reason or another. They think that it's just easier to do themselves. You want a top-performing team. You want to develop your team. Start with that. Make them important. Second point I want to talk about on this is empower them. Every member of your team needs to be empowered to make decisions on the spot to assist in customer care. Now, I understand that they need to have limits before they involve the manager. However, this also reinforces the point of making them important. Empower them to make the right decision, and it'll help your entire team perform better. Now, picture this in an advisor relationship with a customer that comes in, and they're having an issue, regardless of what that issue is or what the level of empowerment you determine. But let's say this advisor has a situation that's going to cost the company $100 to totally satisfy that customer. That advisor is empowered. They can go, you know, I see your point on that, and I'm going to take care of that right now for you. That's where your team needs to be. Now, I understand there's a cost involved in that. I've seen examples where a customer comes in, they just bought a $50,000 whatever, and you can always tell when you're going to have a concern with a customer when they start the conversation out, I just spent $50,000 or whatever the amount of money they spent on their vehicle is. You see, when they start with that, they're trying to justify their concern. They're saying, I invested that money here. I spent that money here. And so many times we get involved with what is technically right that we want to stand and argue or debate with them what is covered, what isn't covered. But I've seen an example where an advisor was informing a customer they needed to spend, I believe it was $60 because they got a nail in their brand new Escalade. Well, the nail in the tire in this case, definitely no one can dispute it is not covered under warranty. But rather than to argue or make the customer feel small, wouldn't it have been great for that advisor to say immediately, that isn't necessarily a covered item under your warranty. However, I'm going to take care of that for you because we value your decision to purchase a vehicle from us, or we value your decision to purchase an Escalade. I'm taking care of that immediately. You see the difference? One might have been correct. We don't cover nails and tires under warranty. But if you want an exceptional team, empower them to make it right. You can see that if that got to the dealer principal or the fixed ops director, they would say, just fix the tire, for goodness sake. Make it happen for this person. It reinforces making your team the best it can be. Empower them. The next point I want to bring up is to trust them. And I'm going to say just simply that if you don't trust your team, every member of it now, to do the right thing, you have to question if they even belong on your team. And I mean that from the bottom of my essence. If you don't trust somebody, you have to ask yourself, why are they a part of my team? Go to the next point, develop them with constant training. I will tell you that I see this all the time in making contacts and calls with dealers where they bring someone in that doesn't know the position of service manager or parts manager. They bring someone in, put them in that position and say, there you go. You're the parts manager. You're the service manager. They don't know how to function. Or here, you're a service advisor. Take care of it. Thanks. Start tomorrow. Always invest in your team with a consistent training program. Don't expect to get superior results if they don't have the right training to reinforce best practice behaviors. When team members get the sense that the dealership is willing to invest in them with great training, they feel more secure that their job is long-term. Why wouldn't we want that in our team? Get them training. It has to be consistent and it has to be valuable. The next point I want to discuss here today is that we need to make the team accountable. Your entire team needs to know that they are accountable for their actions. Everyone needs to be accountable, including long-term employees, family members, or even friends of the boss. If your dealership has privileged individuals in their team that are not held responsible for their actions, it will resemble a tumor growing larger in a cancer patient. The outcome will never be good. Every team member has to understand what their responsibilities are and how to perform their job functions. And I've seen many times where in dealerships, if a manager allows this person because they're family or this person because they're long-term, they've been here forever, they've been here longer than me, how am I going to tell them what to do? It's a tumor growing inside your team. Every member has to be held accountable. And when you don't hold everyone accountable, it resolves, I don't know if if you were old enough to know that Peyton Place is one of these shows that always had these kind of dramas with this person talking about that person or sleeping with this person, and all of this garbage can stem from allowing people in your team not to be accountable. Start with these tips. I hope every manager that listens to this understands the importance of developing their team properly. The success or failure of a member of management depends entirely how they choose to develop their team. And oftentimes we get into so much of putting out the fires of the day. We get into looking at what the process is, or whatever it is, or however good or bad it is that we've done. We get lost in these day-to-day functions, and we lose sight of the big picture, the ultimate goal, the great challenge. Zig Ziglar once said, it's hard to remember when you're up to your armpit in alligators. The original objective was to drain the swamp. How are you doing? Thank you for your time, and we'll talk again next week.
I'm very proud to announce that June 11 and 12 of this year, we are going to have a service managers training seminar in Cleveland, Ohio. This is great for the old vets and rookies as well. And if you're a fixed ops director or general manager or a dealer's son, what a great way to learn more about fixed ops. You'll leave with an action plan for your dealership to implement on your return home.